So we are talking about the insects and other critters you might find inside your house. And there's a reason why we can get kind of that ick factor because it's a protective mechanism. But it's really important for us to understand what's harmless, what's helpful, and what is really not a problem. So let's talk about our friends and foes and why we might not to actually need to freak out. So first of all, we need to understand why insects or other critters might find their way into our house. Just like us, they want food, water, shelter, protection from the elements, or they might accidentally find their way into our place. So when we can keep those things in mind, that's going to help us with integrated pest management. So you guys have heard us talk about integrated pest management in the garden. It's the same in your house. And so we need to be able to identify what it is that we're looking at. We need to understand its biology. We need to also be able to fix those conditions that are allowing them to be there. Or if we understand the biology, we can possibly eliminate that to help with the control. And then if needed, there are treatments that we can use. When we use integrated pest management, we reduce pesticide use, yet we improve long-term control. And we also protect our beneficial species. So let's talk about some of the good things that you might find in or around your house, but might not recognize that they're good, especially if you have any phobias of anything with more than 4 legs. So we're going to talk about house centipedes and spiders. So keeping in mind that these are actually predators of other household pests. So if you have these in your house, that's because they're eating the other things that you don't want. For the most part, they are harmless to people. They don't damage your house and they typically avoid human contact. So specifically the house centipede. This is one that I hear a lot about. They look alarming. They move really fast. They kind of look and feel as if they come from some sort of a sci-fi movie. But biologically, they're actually one of our best indoor pest control agents because they're predators. They feed on cockroaches, ants, flies, spiders, silverfish, even bed bugs. They don't damage your house. They're not building nests. They're not reproducing in large indoor populations. You might have a few, but usually not a ton. In Missouri, they're pretty common. Like I said, I hear a lot about these when people call me, sometimes in a panic, but they're often common in basements, in older homes, and from an IPM perspective, if you see one occasionally, it usually means there at least were other insects present. For spiders, there's the common ones that find our way into our homes: wolf spiders, cellar spiders, even jumping spiders. These are pretty common, but they're not usually a problem in people's homes other than being afraid of them. So these spiders are generally shy. They tend to avoid people. They also are feeding on flies, mosquitoes, moths, and other insects. We do have brown recluses and black widows, but they're typically rare indoors. But also, they're not aggressive. They are severely over-identified. Most brown recluses that people send me pictures of are actually wolf spiders. From a IPM perspective, spiders are indicators of other insects. If you remove spiders but don't address the insects that they're feeding on, you're actually just treating a symptom and not the cause. So I would recommend relocating them, sealing entry points, reducing any of the prey insects that they're feeding on. Those are better long-term strategies than spraying for them. Okay, what are the critters that we need to be aware of and take action? So just as a broad category, these are species that are going to damage our structures. They're going to bite or sting us. They can spread pathogens. They can trigger asthma or allergies, or else they're reproducing aggressively indoors. So examples are roaches, bed bugs, and termites. So let's look at these kind of quickly so that you can identify them and what you need to do for each one of them. So the typical roaches that are found in Missouri homes are German and brown-banded cockroaches. Those are ones that can live and breed inside of our homes. Oriental and American cockroaches can be found outside as well as inside. And then we also have wood cockroaches that are very common in Missouri. But if you find them in your home, it's an accident. They don't want to be there either. They will not reproduce in your home. But the German and brown banded can be pretty common. German cockroaches are the ones that are typically found in kitchens, in cupboards. They kind of need a warm and humid area to be in, compared to the brown banded, which don't need warm and humid areas. And so you can actually find them anywhere in your home. If you find one or two, it might not be a problem, but if you're finding them commonly, and especially if you're finding them during the day, that can be an indicator that you have a bigger problem. So it could mean that you have a breeding population, and so you're going to want to treat. So first you need to identify. German cockroaches are small and tan. They have 2 dark stripes. And the others have very distinctive characteristics. This one right here is actually an American cockroach. What you need to be doing is sanitation. You need to be cleaning your kitchen, making sure the dishes are out of the sink. You need to remove crumbs and grease, seal your food, reduce moisture, and reduce humidity in your home. You're also going to want to practice exclusion. So seal your cracks, repair any leaks. That's going to also help keep any insects from coming into your home. You might need to do some targeted control. This is going to be baits, not sprays, and they're going to be placed where the roaches are hiding. You also will be using them consistently. Blanket spraying usually doesn't work long term, and it can actually make infestations work. And if you're having trouble controlling them, you might consider bringing in professionals, because they're going to have access to pesticides that the regular person does not have. And with cockroaches, we can deal with resistance issues with some pesticides. Bed bugs, not fun. And this is a time when people are traveling, or just after the holidays, about 3 months after the holidays, we start to see more infestation with bed bugs, because it can take about 3 months for people to realize that they brought them home. Bed bugs are hitchhikers. They're not an indicator of a messy home, but if you have a messy home, it's going to make it harder to get rid of them. It's important to know they don't vector diseases, but they are very difficult to eradicate. Usually you're going to need professional help. For IPM, prevention is best. So what I do when I travel, I do inspections. I inspect the bed. Before I go into a hotel, all of my luggage goes into the bathtub. And I actually inspect the hotel room. I inspect all the drawers behind the TV. I'm looking everywhere, because I don't want to bring them home with me. As soon as I get home, my clothes go into the washer and dryer. My suitcase actually goes into a heater that heats the suitcase up to a temperature that they can't survive. And then I'm able to be okay. If you don't have that heater, that's okay. You can put your suitcase in a bag and maybe keep it in the garage. Never leave it in your room. If you do find that you have bed bugs, again, you might consider getting professional help. It is expensive, but professional help can actually eliminate the problem before it gets to be a bigger problem, and can possibly save you money in the long run. You're not going to want to be throwing away the furniture and throwing your clothes away without taking care of the problem, because they're great at hiding. And unless you've contained them and then eliminated them, the problem is going to persist. Termites, most homes in Missouri that are 30 years or older have had at least one termite infestation. That's just to let you know if you get them, join the club. Termites are something you usually need professional help with. It's usually not a do-it-yourself solvable problem. But some things that you can do, make sure that you don't have soil touching wood on your house. Don't put wood next to your house. If you have firewood, keep that on the other side of the yard. Also, do inspections around your house every year and look for mud tunnels that go from the soil up to your house, or up the side of your house, about the size of a pencil. That's an indicator that you could have termites. So every spring, definitely look for them. All of us have termites in our yard. It's just a matter of the opportunity for them to actually get into your house. Pantry pests. Indian meal moths, I get a lot of calls about these. This is actually an Indian meal moth right here. If you see these in your pantry, you have Indian meal moth. And again, this is something that are typically brought into the house because they're common in other places. You can just bring home some flour or some crackers that maybe were on the shelf too long at the grocery store, and now you have pantry moths. So if you find that you have them, you're going to want to empty your pantry completely. You need to discard anything that's already infested, put it in a bag, seal the bag, take it immediately outside. Vacuum the shelves and cracks before you wash them. That way you can make sure you get all the crumbs. And then make sure you store all of your dry goods in sealed, airtight containers. You should not be spraying insecticides in your pantry. It's unnecessary. It's not healthy. Definitely not recommended. Often, brown marmorated stink bugs, Asiatic, multicolored lady beetles, box elder bugs, cluster flies find their way into our home in the fall as well. Prevention, again, having screens that don't have holes in them, sealing cracks, adding weather stripping are all ways to help keep them from coming into your house. Once they find their way into your house, you can vacuum them up. Now, that might create a smell. Stink bugs are called that for a reason. And also, these multicolored lady beetles can also have a defensive smell that isn't great. Just know that none of these are going to be breeding in your house, and they'll try and find their way out in the spring too. So it's not necessarily a problem. And if you're afraid that you're going to be vacuuming up our native ladybugs, just look at this part right here, this pronotum. So it looks like it has an M. And you'll notice all of these have this M-like coloration on this part of their body. Those are the invasive ones. Our native lady beetles do not have that. Just quickly on this springtails, because I get calls about these when we have a lot of rain, which we haven't had a lot the last year, but hopefully we'll get more rain. These are springtails. They're itty bitty, teeny tiny. And when you have these massive groups with thousands of them, it looks like dust that jumps. They're not fleas, they're springtails, they're not dangerous, and outside, just leave them alone. If you find them inside, it usually means that you have a leak or some sort of moisture problem. If you take care of the moisture problem, they'll disappear. So just vacuum them up, decrease the humidity, and increase ventilation, and you'll be fine. So what you watch for household pests, look for repeated sightings. If you have roaches that you're seeing in the day, any damage like this is damage that I'd be concerned about. Termites. And if you have moisture problems, then you likely will have insect problems. So try and take care of those things, and then you'll be able to sleep better at night. A few more insects that if you find in your home, don't freak out about. Ants, they always find a way in, and they're usually not a problem. Usually they'll go away, or you can put baits out and they'll go away eventually. Unless they're carpenter ants, then you need professional help with that. Beetles sometimes find their way into our home, but they're not a problem. Silverfish usually mean there's a moisture problem, and those centipedes will get them for you. Again, integrated pest management. Make sure that you're identifying what the problem is, understand its biology, and then we can fix the condition so that they will either go away or we'll be able to treat them and then they won't come back. And then make sure that you're only using pesticides if it is actually necessary. And by using IPM, you're going to have better long-term control. We're going to protect our beneficial species, and you're going to protect your health. So just really fast, don't panic. Don't spray first. Identify what you have, fix any problems like moisture, especially any entry points, and then use research-based resources to help with any problems that you have. I did create a little guide, and I'll drop this link in the chat for you, or you can scan that QR code, but just some very quick tips about what you need to be concerned about, why you need to be concerned about, and what you don't need to be concerned about.